I'd like to say hello to our amazing audience out there. Thanks for joining us today here at CAN TV. My name is Kenyatta Land. I'm an attorney, real estate attorney here in Chicago, in the Chicagoland area. Today I have two special guests with me, Letrusia May and Shirley Fields. They're real estate professionals. They're going to share their background with us, and hopefully we'll get some tips about how to invest smarter and how to become a first-time home buyer. So I'll start with you, Mrs. Fields. Do you mind telling us a little bit about your background? You know, what drives your passion, where you're from? We'd like our guests to get to know you a little more.
Absolutely. First of all, again, my name is Shirley Fields. I started my life journey in the greater west side of Chicago, in the North Lawndale area. Then from there, my mom moved to the Austin community, still west side. I went to Hess Upper Grade Center, Whitney Young High School, Columbia College, and finally got my MBA from Benedictine University in Laos, Illinois. Wow. I started my journey in real estate because I needed to pay for my tuition in school. I was employed full-time with the Cook County Assessor's Office. I started back to school. I dropped out of college, went back to college, could not afford tuition, so I had to find a way to get it paid. So what I did, because my mother couldn't afford to pay, so what I did was I went and got my real estate license with the encouragement of my mother, passed that, started working at a local real estate office. The first time I had to pay tuition, I actually closed the deal, and I was able to pay my tuition, and from there forward, I was always able to pay my tuition because I would always sell a house.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I'm just excited about all the things that are happening, how I'm able to do what I do in real estate. And I love it. I've been in real estate for over 30 years.
Wow. Wow, that's impressive. And we're going to dive into that a little more later on. Of course, I would like for our audience to get to know Letrusia May and a little bit more about her background, but we definitely want to revisit that and kind of pull the onion back and see, you know, how you know, the passion that drives your experience. And so,
Absolutely.
Mrs. May, can you tell the audience a little bit about, you know, your experience, your background? Help us to get to know you a little more.
Sure. Okay. So again, that's Letrusia May. You
Okay.
said Letrusia, but I understand why he said Letrusia because my mom put that U in there, but I think she did that for fun or to be funny. So it's Letrusia May, and I was born and raised on the west side of Chicago, and I ended up being a young teenage mom, and a lot of my friends were going off to college, so I actually had to get a job. So that brought me to downtown Chicago, where I was working at a well-known bank, and I was a sales assistant. So me being a sales assistant, I was supposed to review the documents and get them into the underwriters so they can see if they could approve the loan. So me looking at these bank statements and tax returns, I'm seeing who's making the money. People in the real estate industry. So that sparked the interest for me to, you know, stay in mortgages, number one, and get into real estate. So by the time I was 20, I actually had two kids, two young boys. I was a single mom. So I actually thought to myself, it's time for me to get into the real estate industry as well as working at a mortgage company. So just like Mrs. Fields did, I started doing real estate part-time, which is where I met Mrs. Fields.
Wow.
So me being a young teenage mom, Shirley, she actually became my mentor. And I was working in the real estate office, and you know, I had my two little boys running around. She was like a mentor mom at that time. She was like, you know, telling my kids, go sit down somewhere, go sit down somewhere. And so I was, you know, like a lot of people in our community, I was afraid to buy. And here she comes. How are you going to be a realtor trying to sell property to people and you don't even own anything? I'm thinking, excuse you, Miss Lady. How are you going to talk to me like that? But, you know, I was raised to respect my elders, but it sparked something in me to think. You know, maybe it is time for me to buy. But mind you, that fear. So I think I was there for 2 years, and I was about to list the property for sale. It was a 4-unit building. And she said to me, you're about to list this? You need to buy this yourself.
Wow.
And so me being in the mortgage industry, I was able to calculate what the mortgage payment would be and then what I would make accepting the rental payments from the tenants that were in the building, and I was like, cha-ching.
Wow.
It makes dollars and it makes sense. So
Right.
I was like, you know what, you're right. So that was the first piece of property that I ended up purchasing.
Wow. So let me ask you this to piggyback, and this is a broader question for both of you all, but kind of to piggyback off what you said. What do you tell a young man or a young woman that is kind of facing some of the same kind of struggles that you all faced? You being a single parent growing up and having to make a decision, you being a college student and wanting to, you know, kind of get out of college financially free without any being bogged down with student debt. So what do you tell a first-time home buyer, whether it's a young man or a young woman, that has that fear, they want to buy, but they, you know, they're fearful? What's the first stop? What is the first thing that they should be doing?
I'm glad you asked that question. Actually, a few years ago, we had a program where we were working with young people. And to date, I think we have 5 young people under the age of 30 that are multi-unit property owners.
Wow.
And what we did, we would have seminars and we would encourage them about stepping out of fear, because that's false evidence appearing real. And if you're fearful, nothing's ever going to happen because you're going to live in that fear. So we have a young man who has a 3-unit property at this point. We have another young man who also has a 2-unit, but he's also converted his basement into a 3-bedroom apartment. So, and we have another young lady. We have 5, but on these 2, I keep close contact. These 3 we keep in contact with, and for various reasons. She has a 3-unit as well.
Okay.
And they're all in the process of buying their second piece of property. And what we tell them is, don't be afraid. That's the number one thing. Don't be afraid.
Okay.
And we encourage them that you can do anything you put your mind to.
Absolutely.
Right, and that's number one right there. You have to change your mindset. Like a lot of times, you know, within our community, we don't believe what we can't see. And a lot of times, you know, you have the wrong people pouring advice into you. They, you know, naysayers saying you can't do this, or you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't do this. Right, you're too young, or, you know, why do you want to do this? You're going to be responsible for tenants. But when I say change your mindset, you have to start thinking, I can, I will.
That's
you know, stop thinking like I can't because of this reason or that reason. For some reason, a lot of us put our own stumbling blocks in front of us. But you have to figure out how to kick each of them down and make a way. Even when you feel like it's no way. We actually just left a seminar, and I just ended up getting real passionate because we were telling, you know, speaking to the people and letting them know you can do this.
Yeah.
This is how you can make this happen. But, you know, this one person, they stood up and they had an excuse for everything.
Wow.
So let's say if you know you're ready to buy, the first thing I had to do, because I actually had filed bankruptcy as Miss Shirley Fields was feeding into me, you know, the knowledge and telling me that I can and I should purchase. So I was actually saving. So that's first thing. I changed my mindset. I don't need stuff. Stuff does not accumulate any value. You know, let me start saving my money. I even though I was afraid. So you will have that fear, but you don't let that control you and consume you. You still do what you need to do because you have a goal. So even though I had that goal, I said, okay, I'm going to start saving. So I stopped buying things. I stopped going to the restaurant. You know, I even just wore my hair in a ponytail for about a year. And I saved because I knew I had a bigger goal, you know, to purchase the property. So when it came down to it, even though I was afraid, I had my savings. I got my credit together. I had my savings, and I knew what it took to purchase. You want to find out what it takes, and you want to stick to it and do it.
And I know Ms. Fields, Shirley has something to chime in with, and I want you to speak to this. So you said savings. How much, you know, generally would a first-time home buyer need as far as percentage of down payment, and what kind of credit score would they need? Because I know a lot of times folks feel held back because they just don't know who to trust, they don't know where to go, and they have limited knowledge as to what they need to start the initial process. So either one of you can speak to that first, maybe Ms. Fields.
Okay, she is the lender, but what I like to say to that, again, you got to work. Faith without works is dead. So you got to have you asked about how much you need to put down. It's usually 7% of whatever the purchase price is. That's what we say.
Okay.
And that's because,
is that the down payment? Or?
No, that's a total closing cost. Down payment, if it's an FHA loan, like I said, I'm going to let Letrusia actually speak to the mortgage part.
Okay.
Yeah,
and then we'll circle back because I want to know as far as the contract, because I know you're the realtor.
Absolutely.
And I would like to, you know, give some tips on what they need to look for so that they approach the contract. Of course, they would reach out to an attorney, obviously, but prior to that, they need to be pre-approved, and they have to pick a realtor that they feel comfortable working with.
But
So
before she says that, tell them about them, I just want to say the main thing you need to do is believe in yourself. I don't care if you have the money, if you have the good credit, if you have the wherewithal, but if you don't believe in yourself and don't think that you can step out of that, because your rewards are as big as your challenges.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. And
that
that's some
needs to
great
be-
advice.
yeah.
I think a lot of our listeners are going to take heed to that. And again, we want to kind of share with them, once they build up that internal kind of courage to step out there, now what do they do?
Right. So I work for a mortgage lender. So now I'm no longer a real estate agent. I'm an executive loan officer.
Okay.
And so you would come to me. And what I would look at is your credit, your income, and your assets. And why? Because I need to see how much income you have coming in versus what you have going out.
And what is the, sorry to interject, but what is the, I think 3.5% down FHA?
Yeah, so FHA is 3.5% down.
Okay.
Conventional, if you're purchasing a single family home, is 3% down.
Okay.
If you're purchasing a multi-unit through conventional, it's 5% down. So depending on the program, and that's why Mrs. Fields was saying, you know, you need to save about 7% because you have the down payment and then there's also closing costs.
That's a perfect segue to bounce back to Ms. Fields, because when we talk down payment and we talk closing costs, obviously that's in your wheelhouse, but realtors often have the opportunity to negotiate those closing costs and seller credits at the start of the the contract process.
Absolutely.
So can you speak to what would a buyer out there ask for or be looking for to kind of compensate with what Mrs. Fields said to offset if they don't have the full down payment?
Well, this is what I do. I do a thorough picture of the property that they put in the offer.
Ms. May, I'm sorry.
That they put in the offer in. So we just hypothetically, let's say this property is a $100,000 property. But audience, there are no $100,000 properties out there right now. But I'm going to use that for math purposes because it's simple. What I would do, I would see how long the property's been on the market. If it's been on the market a very long time, the seller, and usually it's a motivated seller as well, and they want their property to move.
Okay.
But even if it hasn't been, my goal is to get you money back. So when we writing up the offer, we're going to make a full price offer, and then we're going to ask for closing costs of 6%. Most sellers are not going to give you 6%, but we're going to start somewhere.
I see.
So I would ask for 6%, and 6% is $6,000.
Okay.
Which means now you generally have to only come with 1%, which is another $1,000.
Wow, so you telling me 1% of $100,000, that's $1,000. So you telling me a person can go from renting, whereas though their rental, their monthly rental payment could be $1,500, and you saying that they could potentially buy a property where they only putting down $1,000, which is a percentage less than what they're paying in rent? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Wow. Wow.
Absolutely.
And so, Ms. May, so you talked about the closing cost credit being 6%. So assuming a seller says to a new buyer, a new prospective homeowner, hey, 6%, I'm willing to do that. Will the lender, you being the lender, will the lender allow 6%, or is there a threshold?
Okay, so yes, so on FHA loans, we allow up to 6% seller credit.
Okay.
On conventional, it's only up to 3% of a seller's credit that is allowed.
So would it be more beneficial to a first-time home buyer to buy FHA or conventional, or is it like in my business, it just depends?
It depends.
Okay.
It's a lot of determining factors in that.
Okay.
So yeah, it definitely depends. Like a lot of people look at if you're purchasing a multi-unit because only 3.5% is required if you're purchasing a 4-unit. You know, if you can purchase a 4-unit for your first purchase as a first-time home buyer, I would say do that because it definitely can set you up for reaching financial freedom. because more than likely, you literally probably won't have to pay anything towards your mortgage payment. Your tenants will.
Oh, and I wanted to touch on that. So if a person, it's for all the prospective home buyers out there, if they did decide that they wanted to buy a multi-unit like you did, 4 units starting off, what percentage of because they're going to live in 1 unit if it's going to be owner occupied, so that leaves 3 units left. What percentage of rents out of those 3 units will the lender allow? Would they allow the entire 100% to be? Okay.
No. So what we would allow for the buyer to use as proposed income is 75% of the rents that's coming in. We would allow them to use, and you can actually add that to your income. And what that does is that boosts your buying power.
Wow.
If you're looking to purchase a multi-unit.
Okay. So a person out there that's looking to purchase, if they do have some anxiety about paying the entire payment themselves, you're saying that, hey, you can actually get some assistance not only with your qualification ratios, but also with
the mortgage payment
after fact.
And I would say when I purchased my first 4-unit building, and I moved into this building, I literally didn't have anything to pay. My tenants covered that and then some. I was able to purchase my first luxury vehicle.
Wow.
So, I mean, just to put
Her
that
first luxury vehicle.
Right, and just to put that into perspective.
Yes.
So you can really start setting yourself up. And then 2 years later, when I got ready to leave that building, so I left. I was living actually in a basement unit. We're gonna call it the garden unit. So once I left that unit, a tenant moved in, and so that building also paid for my single-family homes mortgage that I purchased afterwards.
Wow. So your first purchase, which is owner-occupied, eventually led to you becoming an investor.
Yes, exactly.
That's impressive. So I'm assuming to the audience out there, Mrs. May can definitely instruct you on how to become an investor. And then I want to circle back for you, Ms. Fields. So I know with the contract, once contracts reach my office, as an attorney, we review the contracts. And again, there's clients out there that they want to buy, but they're nervous. They don't know a thing about rehabbing a property. They don't know about the furnace. They don't know about the structure. I know within paragraph 12 of the residential contract, it is a home inspection contingency there. So I would like for you to speak a little bit about what you do, because you do have a background in construction, and I'm sure that gives you a 360 panoramic view regarding that particular paragraph with reference to the home inspection. So how do you pair that home inspection contingency with a home warranty contingency for those out there that are saying, hey, I never changed the toilet before, I never changed the plumbing pipe? How do you address that, and how do you protect your clients?
First of all, I would never sell a home, any type of property, to a buyer, a client, without them having a home inspection.
Okay.
If they say, I don't want a home inspection, I'm going to decline being their agent.
Okay.
That's how important having a home inspection is.
Wow.
A home inspector checks, he's a professional, he went to school, he's licensed for this. He checks everything, the roof, the plumbing, the electrical, the foundation of the property, and everything in between. And we need that because you want to know how the heart of this house is beating.
I see.
You want to know what the pulse is, what the heart is like. And that gives you more confidence. If there's something wrong with the property, we're going to ask the seller to address it. We're going to send that letter to you, and you're going to send it to their attorney. And we're going to ask them to address that issue. Now, we can also, along with asking for that, we can ask for a home warranty, which means if anything goes wrong with the refrigerator, the furnace, then the home warranty will cover that. Yes, you may pay a deductible, but that's all you're going to pay. And they're going to come out and fix the property. Okay,
and I'm assuming that based on your background and experience that you provide a level of expertise, because a lot of times what I'm hearing is prospective home buyers, they come to me and they say, hey, I'm on my 3rd home inspection. I haven't purchased a house yet. And what that generally says to me, Mrs. May, that they're dealing with a novice realtor. So I'd like for you to tell the audience a little bit about, with your perspective as a general contractor in the past, how are you able to advise your clients? Because a lot of realtors are not able to do this. How are you able to advise your clients and help them to see the inspection in a way where they realize, hey, this is a 100-year-old home. There's going to be something wrong with it, but it's de minimis. It's not to a degree to where, hey, you throw the baby out the bathwater, you don't go through with the deal, thus you end up purchasing 5, 6 home inspections.
First thing of all, if I walk into a property, just like you said, thank you for acknowledging that I am a general contractor. I have done rehabbing a property, so I know the basics of what I'm looking at. So when I look at a piece of property, we walk into if it doesn't feel like it's a firm house, if I'm looking at the furnace, it looks like just out of date, and I'm looking at other things about the house, I would advise my client, let's keep looking. I don't even have them order a home inspection yet. I say, let's just keep looking. I don't think this is a good fit for you.
Okay.
Now, I have had clients who didn't like what I said, and they went around me, and they went with the seller's agent, and they bought that property. They called me later and tell me they wish I would have.
I see.
They told me they didn't think I wanted them to own property. I said, if I don't sell this property, if I don't sell you property, I don't make a living. So I absolutely want you to purchase. I just don't want you to purchase garbage.
Right, and that's one thing I can say about Shirley Fields. She is passionate, and she does not just want to just get a check. She wants you to be happy with your property after you close.
And I want to sleep good at night too.
Right, right, exactly.
Yeah, and so a lot of buyers, they look at the aesthetics. They like that granite countertop. They like that quartz. They like that stainless steel dishwasher. So do you take your clients, and this is a question for, I guess, both of you, but more so this will be in your wheelhouse. Do you take your clients directly to the foundation of the home? Do you look at windows? Are you looking at the HVAC? What are you looking for?
I'm looking at everything, and when we do home inspections, I am at the home inspection.
Okay, so you show up at...
I show up at the home inspections. If a buyer tells me they can't come, we're gonna reschedule it. Okay. Because I want them there as well, so we can walk them through and show them what we're finding. Okay. So yes, I look at the windows, I look at the doors, I look at the overall condition of the property. I just sold a piece of property, and we actually just closed. It was an older building. It was updated. It wasn't updated to like a gut, but it was a firm, solid piece of property. So I felt good selling my client that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it was a good piece of property.
And I'm sure your clients appreciate that. Absolutely. That's a level of thoroughness that you only get over time. I think you have to be in the business for quite a long time to be able to offer that kind of service to your clients. Yes. So that's commendable for sure. And then I wanted to circle back to Mrs. May here and just ask, so you spoke about income previously. So is there a debt to income ratio? How would a party that's at home right now, how would they kind of generally, not down to the wire because they have to come to the professionals, but how would they generally, kind of calculate, okay, this is approximately what my mortgage payment will be if they're looking at a home, let's say for $150,000, and they plan on putting 3.5% down going FHA?
So if you want to, well, me myself, I can calculate it. Like I don't think I can calculate it just off the top of my head right now, but because we do put it in the system, and I do have a mortgage calculator. But I would just say you can anticipate if you're purchasing something, you have to understand that there's going to be taxes included in that. There's going to be insurance included in that. So let's say if your taxes are $1,200 a year annually, your insurance is $1,200 a year annually. That's $200 additional dollars that has to go into your principal, interest, and principal and interest amount to get attached to that. Is it 100
or is it 100 or 200? If it's only $1,200,
it's $200 because it's $100 a month for the taxes and then $100 a month for the insurance.
Right, the insurance.
Okay, so yeah, so it's $200, right? So it's $200 in total that get attached to your principal and interest. So let's say that the $150 you're at $1,200. Okay. So that then your mortgage would be $1,400 a month. And then if you're putting under 20% down, there's PMI, which is private mortgage insurance, that they also have to pay. This insures the mortgage for the mortgage lender. So that can be another, for that loan amount, you're looking probably between $50 to $70 additional. Okay. So let's say you're at $1,450 a month for your mortgage payment, which still you're paying under what your rent is. And another thing, rent right now is going up. You know,
That's
I
right.
mean, you get a lot of, you know, paying rent does not provide you with stability. You know, every first of the year, everybody probably is on pins and needles if you're renting, because you don't know if your landlord is going to come and say, guess what, you know, this is your last couple of months I want you here, or I'm selling the building. So I just want to just really just advise you to just, if you haven't started, think about purchasing. You can reach stability, you can reach financial wealth, you can start the legacy of real estate ownership of your family. If your family, you can be a first generational homeowner if they haven't started that yet. And it's been definitely a blessing for me to own property.
Yeah, I wanted to dive a little deeper into that, and so I was wondering, let's say, so a person sitting at home right now and they're saying, hey, I've went with Miss Fields. She is getting me 6% in closing costs. So I have $20,000 in savings. The original $20,000 I thought I needed to put down, now I only need $5,000. With that additional $15,000, is there any way that they can buy down their interest rate or anything to make it more affordable to them?
Yes, you definitely can buy down your interest rate. And that's why I advise people to definitely still, you know, save. You know, you never know. You know, you hear a lot of people saying, oh, I bought my house and I didn't put anything down. You know, things have changed so much with the values being so high, with title company fees being so much higher. So many fees are much higher than they were, you know, years ago. So I would say, even if you get, you know, Ms. Fields or your realtor to get the seller to pay 6%, still save, because you have the option, like you're saying, to buy down your interest rate. And that's huge nowadays, because we went through the era, you know, the COVID era, when rates were at an all-time low. Like, I've been in this industry for over 30 years and rates have never been that low. So a lot of people are like, I'm waiting for it to go back down. It's never gonna go back down. I don't see that ever happening. So stop waiting yourself out of a savings. You can save now if you just buy now, because, you know, if you're own, it's always better to own than to rent. So yes, save that money and you can use it to buy down your interest rate.
Okay, that's good to know.
And I'm just sitting here thinking it could be part of your pension plan, passive income as you get older.
Wow, that's an interesting thought. And I wanted to ask you too, regarding the buyers that say, hey, I want to purchase a property, I want an investment property, but they have, well, I want a multi-family as my primary owner-occupied property for the first time, but they have no experience being a landlord. Is there anything that they should do, Ms. Fields, as far as screening the tenants? You know, is there a avenue to let's say, for example, Section 8, which is a government kind of funded program, or is it best to rent in the private sector? Based on your experience, how would you advise your perspective?
Well, I'll give you the first. It's a personal opinion. It's a personal choice. If you use somebody with a choice voucher, you're almost guaranteed your rent.
Okay.
They're going to get that. Even with pandemic happening, people still got paid. Okay, but you may know a personal person. I'm not saying a friend, someone else. So the process is not hard. You do want to run a credit check. You do want to do a background check. And for me, I go by their house to see how they're currently living, and that helps me assess. And I want to know everybody's going to be living in the property. I want to meet the children. You know, it'd be nice. I want to sit and talk to them, see how they're doing in school. One thing I've learned, if a parent is very concerned about their children, what type of grades they're making in school, they're going to be more concerned about how they treat your apartment.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. I agree.
So those
100%.
are just some of the things that I think about and that I give my clients when they ask me that question about how do they pick a tenant. So I just give them that, and then I say, you want somebody that's going to take care of your property the way you would, and you can just do the research, go by their house. That's an extra service that I offer.
That makes sense. And with that said, are there any areas that a prospective or potential buyer should look for? Are there any elements in certain areas that make those areas more attractive, where you can see, okay, the appreciation? So for example, South Shore, they're building the Obama Library. Does community development that looks like that, or in some other aspect, does it make the neighborhood increase in value more? Do you think that it helps with the funding of the schools? How do you help your clients kind of identify neighborhoods? Because they see a lot of crime going on in Chicago. I happen to love Chicago. I'm like you, from the west side of Chicago. But how do you navigate that far as, hey, this is still a good area despite the elements that you see play out on the news?
That's all relevant, and it is against the law for me to steer someone. But what I do, now if you're moving in the suburbs, you know, they have the different school districts. So I can research that school district for you and tell you what that school district is. In the city of Chicago, our school district is just 299. So within the city of Chicago, we have blocks within areas that can look like you're in the suburb. So what I do, I tell my clients, drive down the area that you think you want to live in at three different times of the day: morning, afternoon, and the evening. That way you'll get a pretty good feel of that block, because you can go on the next block and you can think you're in Beirut. So you really, in the city of Chicago, you really have to look at the blocks. You can't say, I don't want to live in this area. And yes, the value of property is going up everywhere in the city of Chicago. In the Chicagoland area, all areas are going up. So an area that you think is bad, in 2 years, you're going to wish you bought there.
Wow. Wow.
Absolutely.
Did you want to add anything? I know you're
You know what? When
an
she
investor and you own
What I
properties.
wanted to add when she was talking about the tenant screening, like, she taught me how to screen my tenants, so I followed all of her advice except for the kids with the good grades. Okay, because as a single mom, of course I wanted my kids to
I
get
didn't say
grades.
good grade. I said you want to see what type of grades they're making. They don't necessarily have to be good, but because it's all relative. You might be a C student.
Right. So that's what I was gonna say. That you know, I try my best, you know, to encourage them to do their best, and you know, that's what they were.
And they best is C.
Right. So so I don't, you know, I really don't get into the grades, but the rest of her advice I definitely followed, and I, you know, haven't had not too much of bad luck with tenants.
Yeah, when you do that.
And so, far as credit score, what is the baseline, the minimum credit score that a person would need in order to qualify for, let's say, FHA 3.5%? Or do you have any other programs out there?
I do not have any other programs that will help for under a 580.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Right.
580.
So this is what I would say. So even though we say a 580, you have to go through AUS. And what is AUS? The automated underwriting system. And usually, you know, at a 580, we won't get that approval, because you know what happens is we put your information into a system, and then we send you through AUS, and then we get what it's called findings. And usually, if you have a 580, you have some blemishes.
Okay.
So I would say, you know, let's get your scores up to at least a 620 or a 640, because then you're more likely to get an approval through AUS.
Are you able to do that? And if so, what kind of information are you looking for? What helps the credit score anyway? Is it low balances? I hear a lot of stuff. I have my own ideas, but I like to know from
I would
the
say
expert.
low credit usage. So what that is, let's say if you have a credit card and they gave you a limit of $1,000. When you know you want to apply for a mortgage, pay your balance down to at least $300. You want to be at least 30% under that limit. You know, pay it down as much as you can, because if you're under 10% of that usage, the higher your scores would be. The more credit usage, the more you know, lower it's going to bring down your scores. Another thing is collections and charge-offs. Those are other things that would bring your credit scores down. And then another thing is, with the collections and charge-offs, we don't look at medical collections, but they do affect your credit scores.
Okay. And credit scores, so I know we're in the Midwest, and to qualify for a mortgage, because you have TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, what would a prospective buyer, which credit score would you use, or would you use all three to qualify the person?
We use all three. What we do, we drop the highest score and the lowest score. What's left is what we call the middle score, and that's what we would use to see what programs you would qualify for.
Wow. So it sounds like you all can put someone in a home with 3.5% down, with a 580 credit score.
No, with a 580, you're gonna have to put more money down.
How much would you have to
10%.
put? Wow. So what about on an investment?
Investment properties, that's if it's a single family home, that's 15%, and then if it's a multi-unit, it's 25%.
Wow. Wow.
Yes, and
That's
that
huge.
investment is you go into conventional, because FHA is strictly for owner occupied. So you have to qualify going conventional, which with conventional, your credit has to be a little bit more pristine than with FHA.
But for me, if you buying a 3-unit, a 3 to 4 unit, or even a 2-unit, a 2 to 4 unit, even though you're going to live in there, that's still considered an asset. It's not a liability because it's investment property too. So if your mindset is like that, when you just strictly buy investment property, you're not going to live in it. That's a different animal.
Yeah.
So you can also look at the multi-unit that you're going to live in as investment property with an FHA loan because I'm going to live here.
But if you're going to live in it, it's not investment. It's only investment
No,
if it's
from your perspective, from the lenders, but you see what I'm saying? From the lender's point of view, it's not investment. But for you, me, it's an investment for me as well, even though I'm buying this owner occupied because I got 2 other units.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So when you say investment to me as a lender,
that's why I
I'm
said that
automatically
like that.
thinking non-owner occupied.
That's what I was trying to do.
So as a lender, we want you to have more skin in the game.
Yes.
So that's why I say you would have to put 25% more down.
I see.
You know, 25% down. But investment, a 4-unit, and you're going to live in it, it's still owner occupied. So yes, it's just still 3.5% down for FHA.
Yeah, this is a wealth of knowledge. I'm sure our guests are really going to learn a lot from this interview with 2 professionals. And you both I brought you here because you have a wealth of knowledge in real estate. But I have to touch on the fact that you both are entrepreneurs as well, and you both have invested in the communities in which you come from in a way that's different than real estate. You both own businesses. So can you kind of speak to those businesses and what do you do?
Well, not only do I own business in the community, I'm an avid volunteer. I do a lot of volunteer. I do a lot of service work. I give back a lot to my community. I work with the police department. I work with the youth in the community. I work with the block clubs in the community. And right now I'm working on a project that hopefully will bring the community together in a fun way.
And what
just to
project?
relieve stress. It's called Karaoke on the Avenue. It's a community project. It's going to be open to the public as well as a space for conferences where elected officials can use, for the churches can use. You can have a private birthday party there. You can have parties for your children. The karaoke screen is going to come down if you want to. If you think you got talent and you want to sing and just create your own entertainment, it's going to be that too. And it's located in the Soul City corridor. An area that's unique to Chicago. Most of the business owners there are Black.
Wow, that's impressive. That's impressive. And what about you, Ms. Smith?
Okay, so me being born and raised in the Austin community, during the recession, which was 2006 to 12, well, however long it lasted. But what I did, a lot of the distressed properties, I took lemons and made lemonade. So I became a licensed general contractor. I purchased the buildings and I rehabbed them. So I own all of them to this day. And I manage them myself. And I think it's a total of 18 rental units. Wow. So, and I pride myself on being a property owner who, I do a lot of upgrades to my units because I wouldn't want someone to live how I wouldn't want to live. So I think all of my units look very nice.
Awesome.
And another thing I do is I own an event space on Chicago Avenue as well. And it's I love it. I mean, I think I rehabbed it to where when people come there, they are like, wow, I can't believe this is here. I can't believe this is on Chicago Avenue. And I'm like, why not? Because I remember on our way to church, we would drive down Chicago Avenue and we would pass through Oak Park, and I would just see so many beautiful buildings, and just you can. It's like you're looking through a fishbowl usually because they don't have curtains in Oak Park. So and I was like, you know what, I want to create something like this. And that's what I did. So yeah, birthday parties, elected officials have been there. We've had the
governor.
Yeah, the governor, Rahm Emanuel. Just all the past 3 mayors have been there and had events there. So it's been a blessing to me and a blessing to my community.
That's great. And you both are a blessing to the community. I was born and raised in Austin, as you know, community that I still love. I think that's one of the most things that I'm proud of out of my experience, because I learned a lot from Austin, a lot of amazing people, beautiful people. And so it is awesome. I think that it's super commendable that you all are providing jobs and that you're investing back into the community. And so with that said, you all both talked about mentorship. I'm getting so much on this body of information that you all are providing to me and our guests. I'm also, obtaining a lot of great energy from you all. And so I feel that you all are already mentors. You all are already highly informative, and you're changing your community. Every purchaser, purchaser by purchaser, buyer by buyer, you're changing your community. And so I love that, first and foremost. I can't say that enough.
Thank you.
But speaking of giving back, are you all putting together any home buyer seminars? How, are buyers able to come and learn more and get more of this informative information, this knowledge that you all are giving out, to us today? Are they able to do that? Are you engaging in that right now? Or is that something that you plan for in the future?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We are doing home buyer seminars at least 2 to 3 times a week.
Wow.
And not only that, when you are a client, if we sell you a piece of property, you are our clients for life. You can call us anytime, ask us any questions. Whatever you need help with, we're going to help you with that.
Wow.
Yes, we definitely have been putting it out there to different industries, different companies like churches. We actually just did a home buyer seminar for
Really?
someone
church.
a church. We was at a church this past Sunday, and today we actually did it for a company who wanted to educate her employees, 72 employees, and she wanted to give them knowledge on how to increase their net worth by buying real estate. And so, I felt so encouraged by that. I wish a lot of employers and a lot of churches would do that, because churches just understand that once your congregation starts buying properties, that's a mindset change. That's building generational wealth. That's more tithes and offering. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You don't understand how much you grow from owning real estate.
Yeah.
Yes, and this is definitely a passion for us. And what we do, we just give it away freely. But one of the things I like to say, knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
Don't get me wrong. But applied knowledge is what you
yes.
need.
Yes.
If you get the knowledge but you're not applying it, it's really no good. So you have to apply the knowledge.
No, I agree with that 100%. And, communities like Austin, Garfield, Lindale, these are communities that have been historically disenfranchised, as we know. And for me, I think information is the bedrock of kind of repairing that damage that has been caused generationally. So again, it's really commendable for you all to continue to spew and to like bless the community with your kind of experience, not just your experience in real estate, but your life experience and the knowledge and wisdom that you bring to the table. You gonna say something?
No, I'm just going to say life for me hasn't been a bed of roses. So I've had struggles and trials and tribulations. I filed bankruptcy, like she said before. But once I changed my mindset, my whole life changed.
Wow.
Like we said, that's key. You cannot constantly think I can't do this, or allow yourself this fear to control you, or you won't be able to get to the next level in life. You would just sit in the same space, and it'll be 5-10 years later, and you'll be like, shoulda, woulda, coulda.
And one thing we don't have a lot of, one thing we can't get back. Let me rephrase that. The one thing we can't get back is time.
That is true.
We can get some more money, and you're all wealthy. All of us are wealthy. We just got to utilize our resources.
I agree.
Because every last one of us are wealthy.
I agree.
But you got to utilize it. You got to pluck into it. You got to get it. You got to know your purpose. You got to do it.
Right.
And most people with wealth, money, financial, because we're all wealthy. Most people with money got it, first of all, through real estate. They started in real estate.
So I want to go ahead. You say something?
I was just going to say that one thing that I would, I have to say to myself sometimes, if it is to be, it is up to me. And I remember I used to say this to myself every day, because if I want something, I have to go out there and get it. I can't wait for someone else to give it to me. 40 acres in a mule, you're never gonna get it without giving it to you.
Right.
You gotta get out here and get it for yourself.
You got to ask for it.
You do.
Sometimes we forget to ask.
And put the works behind it. Faith without works is dead.
No, I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree. I want to pivot back for a moment, because you spoke about bankruptcy. And I think that is a perfect segue for listeners out there, viewers, to kind of find out, if they do file bankruptcy, are they kind of disqualified from purchasing, or is there a time frame that they have to wait before that they can enter into a purchase transaction?
So with the Chapter 7, you have to wait 2 years from the discharge date.
Okay.
And with the Chapter 13, you know, you have to get the authorization from, who's it, the trustee that's in the bankruptcy, if you're inside of a bankruptcy. But, you know, other than that, you would just have to wait after the discharge of that Chapter 13 or dismissal.
Okay.
What about, you can buy in the 13, but you have to have what? How many months of not missing payments?
No, you can't miss any payments.
That was very important.
Yeah, you can't miss any payments.
That's very important.
Yes, you're right. You cannot miss any
But
payments.
you can buy in a 13?
You can buy in a 13.
Wow.
But you have to get the authorization from your trustee. So if you don't want to do that, you just would have to wait.
And I think you have to have a 12-year history first, right?
No.
A 12-month history, right?
No, so if you're out of the 13.
No, if you're still in the 13. Do you have to have 12 months of not missing a payment of that 13?
You just can't be missed any, you can't have any missed payments. But to my knowledge, I don't think is that you have to have 12 months inside of it.
Oh, so if I got a 13 today, and the trustee give me a letter
that's saying you're okay, yeah, it's up to the trustee to say it.
Gotcha.
And so for our viewers out there, can you just briefly kind of explain the difference between the 13 and the 7?
So I did a 7. So I could definitely explain what a 7 is. So a 7 is when you getting everything, just you don't have to pay anything. You said, okay, I got all these that I don't want to pay nothing. I'm writing to just take it away, take it away, take it away. So that's what a 7 is. You relinquishing yourself from paying any of those that you don't have to pay it anymore. So a 13 is more like a payment plan.
consolidation.
Yeah, a debt consolidation. And so you're paying into, do you know about a 13?
A 13 is when they consolidate all your debt.
Debt.
Your debt together, and they work out something with your debtors, and they come up with an agreement, and you pay them that monthly payment to the 13, whoever they work that out, and then you just pay that, and they pay the bills for you.
Okay. And so after the 13 is discharged, you can they can reinvent themselves through getting a higher credit score, and then they can enter the market again.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. But with the 13, it's easier to reinvent yourself inside of the 13 because you still able to pay some of your creditors. So your credit is still, like I've done loans for people that come to me with just out of a 13 and they've got 700 scores.
Absolutely.
Really?
But it's because you can still keep your car. So people, they'll do a 13 instead of a 7 if they don't want to give their car back. So that's the reason why someone would do a 13 instead of a 7. But if you just like, hey, I don't have it, I don't want to pay, I just want to start a fresh start, that's a 7.
All right, see. So I know we're going to be running out of time. This is a wealth of knowledge and extremely just informative conversation. I love speaking with both of you all. You always are like spot on with your information, always willing to help, really caring individuals. And so I want to know if you can share just a tip with our audience on anything you can think of in the real estate industry that would be beneficial, something that they can watch out for. Obviously, get the professionals, then you don't have to watch out as much. But are there any tips that you can share?
I would say the number one thing always is definitely to prepare yourself mentally. Just get ready and just save. Don't listen to people. Everybody experiences in purchasing is different.
Okay.
So don't think you're going to have the same experience that your auntie, cousin, sister, mama had. Just prepare yourself. And start with saving. That's number one. Make sure you're paying those credit cards down, and just get ready and just put your first foot forward and just make that first step.
Okay.
What I like to say is just do it. And what I mean by that is get with the lender, let them run your credit, and if they're anything like Letrusia, they're going to go over that credit report with you, and they're going to tell you, they're going to give you a blueprint on how to build up your credit. So that's the tip I like to use. And I say do it sooner than later.
Sooner than later.
Absolutely.
So we have a few minutes left. This time just blew by. I would like for you both to look into the camera and let folks know how they can contact you if they need any more information about the services that you offer.
I'm with LNS Development. Shirley Fields, again, is my name. I am a licensed real estate broker. You can reach me at area code 773-616-0906. Again, that number is 773-616-0906.
And I'm the L in LNS Development. She's the S, Shirley Fields. Again, I'm Letrusia May, and I always use her phone number because she likes to speak with everyone first. So I'm the Executive Loan Officer. I'm here to assist you with all of your needs when it comes to purchasing. I want to answer all of your questions. So again, that number is 773-616-0906.
And I like to say we are extremely passionate about what we do. We do it for the love of it.
And if you're not ready today, we're going to tell you how to be ready tomorrow.
Right. If you ready, you ain't got to get ready.
Amen.
And this is the reason why I brought these two special guests to the show. Again, ladies, thank you for joining me today. This is a really fruitful conversation, great energy. And again, I'm Kenyatta Land with Land Law Firm LLC. We're located in the Chicagoland area. You can visit my website at www.landlawfirm.co. And our practice focuses on not only real estate, but estate planning, probate, land trust. So we can be very helpful. And again, thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
It was extremely a blessing to have you here. And so we will talk to you later. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Looking for